Moving on, another potential scam, or at the very least institutional land grab case, is coming to light from Tamil Nadu in connection with the state Waqf Board. After sensationally claiming entire villages in Trichy last year, now the Waqf Board in the state is claiming 57 acres of land in Vepur, which are already owned by as many as 30 families having full land records. This case is once again shining a light on the activities of the Waqf Board and the Waqf Act itself, which gives unparalleled and unbridled powers to the board to acquire any land it deems a Waqf land in India. It may be important to note here, the Waqf is the third largest owner of land in India, only after the Indian Railways and the Indian Armed Forces. Outlandish claims of such kind by the Waqf boards have been made in the past too, just on the basis that they believe some Muslim invader, ruler or person owned the land at some point of time, even if it was centuries ago. So what is the latest case and why is it alarming? The Waqf Board is now claiming 57 acres of land in Vepur village. 3 acres of this land, and this is why this is very alarming, have already been transferred to the Waqf Board. And people are at the receiving end, people who seemingly owned this land. 57 acres of this land is owned by as many as 30 families who are now distressed. This is largely agricultural land. This is coming on the back of another such case that came to light from the same state last year in September. The Tamil Nadu Waqf Board then claimed 6 villages in Tiruchendurai as its own property. The Waqf Board claimed tens of thousands of acres of land in Trichy. Authorities initially refused to sell or register the land by the locals. The Waqf Board NOC, which is no objection certificate, was deemed necessary to sell any land in these villages. But after media reports, the government stepped in and allowed the locals to sell their land. We had featured that story on Plain Speak. Now these are the kind of claims that have brought the very Waqf Act under scanner. A petition was also filed in the Supreme Court last year challenging the Act, and this is what the petition had said. The Waqf per se is not mentioned anywhere in the Indian Constitution. It's against secularism and integrity. The Waqf Act was arbitrarily enacted and is religion-based that violates Article 14 and 15. There is no safeguard to other religions to save their properties from inclusion into a Waqf list. The Waqf Board has been given unbridled powers to register any property as theirs. And finally, it also said that there is no provision to identify and determine the status of a property as a Waqf land. This brings us to the question of how is a Waqf land identified, and this is the biggest bone of contention. So the Waqf Board collects information on properties it believes to be belonging to the Waqf. The Waqf Board then conducts an inquiry into the said property. If the board is satisfied, it claims the property to be belonging to the Waqf. This is the biggest problem as far as the powers given to the Waqf Board is concerned. The decision of the board, unless modified or revoked by the Waqf Tribunal, is final. Now, the Waqf Board only has Muslim representatives, but the Waqf Tribunal does have state officials. But the biggest issue is it puts the onus on the ordinary individual to prove the land is theirs and not on the Waqf Board. So the big question we asked today, with this another Waqf land row coming in from Tamil Nadu into spotlight again, is it not time to re-examine the Waqf Act? CNN News 18 went on ground, did a full report. This is by my colleague Purnima Murli. Take a look.
56-year-old Ramesh, who owns 3 acres of land in Tamil Nadu's Ranipet district, is a shattered man. The land, which he bought in 1980, has been transferred to the state Waqf Board.
They wait for 70 years.
Waqf lands are those endowed for charitable or religious use. Ramesh says, despite submitting documents showing he legally bought the land, it was transferred to the Waqf Board.
We were asked to submit all the original documents. 2 days later, the collector's office had told the media that my document was fake. We were heartbroken. When we came to know that our land has been transferred, we went to the collector's office for an explanation. There was no intimation from the collector's office before transferring our property. 2 days later, teams came to our land to demolish the sheds and water pump set. When I tried questioning the officer, they asked me to move court and fight the case.
Tamil Nadu Waqf Board, in fact, has laid claim to over 57 acres of land in Vepur village. Another farmer, Palani, alleges teams were sent to lay claim to his 3.5-acre plot of land.
A few officers came to our land. Police entered our agricultural land. I fainted after seeing them. I told them not to take away my land. They also bought a JCB. I threatened them with life and my daughters came to my rescue. They said they have no one except me. I have 5 daughters and we'll all rely on the agricultural land for a living.
A Supreme Court order last year says land can only be transferred to the Waqf Board after an open hearing and negotiation with the owners. The Tamilnadu Waqf Board says they have evidence of their claim on the land and are ready to hold negotiations with the other landowners.
Out of 57 acres, some portion of land has been already disbursed to so many individuals in the 60s and 70s. Apart from that, 3.5 acres were left, which is belonging to Waqf institution. Now, one particular individual is claiming that it belongs to them. If it is belonging to him legally, they can claim or they can challenge before the court of law also.
CNN News 18 spoke to the district administration, who said they are awaiting a response from the land authorities. They said, and I quote, a report has been sent to Commissioner of Land Administration. A response from them is awaited for further action. Waqf Board has claimed over 57 acres. 3 acres have been transferred to them so far. Was due process followed in the transfer? For Ramesh, the answer holds little consolation. With Purnima Murli, Ishita Bhadri, CNN News 18.
This is atrocious. People who have been living there for more than 100 years, in fact, not even 50-60 years. And they are taken for a very big surprise and shock. The government is supporting the local, particularly some Islamic movements. A minister in the DMK government is also behind this, all these things, these movements. So I think the justice should be done.
It is a Waqf Board is an independent organization which runs for the welfare of the Muslims and their temples and other things. So they know when they take a land, they will not go out of the way to procure land. So when they say, let them approach the Waqf Board and explain things and get their explanation. That will be fair.
Let's go across to the guests who are joining us. Uma Nandan is BJP leader and VP of Temple Worshippers Society. Atikur Rahman, Islamic scholar. Suman C. Raman, political analyst, comes from the state. And Ashwini Dubey, senior, is a Supreme Court advocate, also joining us on the show. Sumant, I believe you were on the show when we discussed this Waqf Act issue that, came up in Tamil Nadu earlier as well. And now it's repeatedly cropping up. You heard from some of these victims as well. The biggest issue here is it's not so much about the difference of opinion of who the land belongs to. It is the fact that the Waqf can deem the land as a Waqf land and then ordinary Indians are left to fight legal battles. This is a very pejorative, landscape.
No, I think that the government needs to revisit. I mean, the centre needs to revisit the act where the Waqf can straight away claim the property.
Yes.
And then the burden of proof is now on the person who has been moved out of the property. So I think that is a problem. The other issue is that the state government, normally when somebody has evidence that they are occupying land for a particular period of time, more than 12 years or whatever, they acquire certain rights on it, which would not apply to public land. So, for instance, I cannot encroach on government land and say I've been there for 15 years and therefore the land belongs to me. So, like that, temple properties and Waqf properties and so on. So, I think that there are certain rules there, but I think the bigger problem is the Tamil Nadu government is seen as, being pro-minority and the image of the government is really the one which is, leading to speculation here and making it a political issue. What should be a pure and simple legal matter acquires political overtones because the government, we've seen videos where ministers have attended functions from of minority religious groups and said that we are here only because of you, we have come to power and so on, which makes this entire story, whatever decision they take, in this case, we'll have to wait for the documents and we need to know what the facts are. But prima facie, whatever decision they take is going to be viewed with suspicion simply because of the government's image of being seen as pandering to minority sentiments in the state.
Can I just come in? Even Waqf land in India is hardly benefiting actual Muslims on the ground. That's also several Muslim victims themselves who have come out to say. So actually benefiting Waqf boards is not a benefit to ordinary Muslims. We have to make that distinction. No, a large proportion of these properties are actually not being even used for the kind of charitable work they have to be used for.
That is for the community.
No, I understand. I'm just saying, let's not confuse being charitable to the Waqf board as being charitable to Muslims, but there is a political angle which you very rightly pointed out. I should also point out that Tamil Nadu is 4th on the list of the states which have the highest number of registered immovable properties attached to the Waqf boards. The first is UP, obvious because of the sheer size of the state as well, West Bengal, Punjab, then Tamil Nadu, Karnataka and Kerala. Atiq or Rahman, I want to come to you. The other issue with the Waqf Act is that, a lot of these claims, if you listen to the Waqf boards is, some invader or ruler in 17th century, 18th century owned this land. Somebody, pre-independence owned this land and apparently, according to them, gave it to the Waqf board. There is no proof of that. On the other side, the persons who are living on this land, families and farmers, etc., they actually have land records. But focusing on the claim itself, how fair is it to say that, 100 years ago, this land was donated to us, so now it is ours? I don't understand how this will function.
Shivani, this is totally unfair. The people who are tilling the land belongs to them. Even if the past masters may be something. That's why I agree with Mr. Suman's argument that the whole Waqf Act should be revisited by the central government. Point number 1. Another important factor in this aspect is, you said rightly that the Muslim community per se does not benefit out of any Waqf properties or Waqf Act. The entire government of the state, which formulates the day-to-day functioning of the Waqf Board, the chairman belongs, though he belongs to the Muslim community, but the chairman and other members are the ones who hobnob with the present government. There is no Muslim angle into it. And that's why I said that if I am a tenant of a property which is claimed as a Waqf property, I should not be debarred from my right. Even if it is a tenancy right, they will have to, whatever tenant payment rent they are demanding, if the person is ready to pay the rent, the land may be belong to anybody.
In this case,
Muslim angle, the Muslim community is nowhere in the picture.
No, in this case, the issue is not whether they are occupants as renters or as people who were donated the land or given the land for some temporary occupation. They have land deeds. They have land records. And it's an absolute mess in the system that there can be so many claimants to a particular piece of land, and often both parties seem to have some papers to suggest that it belongs to them. But I'm focusing on the Waqf Act per se. I want to go across to the BJP representative on the show as well. This is the second big such case coming to light from Tamil Nadu itself. It is clear that Tamil Nadu government also needs to wake up. Tamil Nadu is 4th on the list of all the properties that Waqf overall owns or it registers with them. And otherwise also the confidence with which the Tamil Nadu Waqf Board keeps saying, Uma Nandan, if you can hear me, that this land belongs to us, is absolutely appalling. I think we've lost that link. All right, let me go across to our lawyer on the panel, Ashwini Dubey. Ashwini Dubey, I have studied this Waqf Act. I've discussed it previously. And many lawyers have pointed out this is a very, very problematic act. Over the years, the powers to the Waqf Board have been strengthened via amendments. And this is a particularly unique act. Even in Muslim countries, the Waqf Boards don't have the kind of powers that they are enjoying in India.
Yes, Shivani, very rightly you have pointed out. I answer in 3 points. Point 1, The Indian Constitution establishes three types of court. The Union Judiciary under Article 124 to 146. High courts under Article 214 to 231. Subordinate courts under Article 233 to 237. But the intention of the constitution makers was that all the matters relating to the civil disputes shall be decided by the courts of original civil jurisdiction constituted under Chapter 6 of the Constitution. But here, the Waqf Board, which has a Muslim MLA, Muslim MP, Muslim IAS officer, Muslim town planner, Muslim advocate, Muslim scholar and mutawallis, and they are paid from the public exchequer, and civil court cease to have jurisdiction. This is my argument number one. Argument number two, Shivani. Waqf Board has been made a superior authority over and above the district administration. At the same time, there is no provision under any law conferring same status and power to the managers of the Hindu trust.
Yes.
Therefore, the provisions contained, as you rightly pointed out, they arbitrary, irrational and offends the Article 14, 15 and 27 of the Constitution. My argument number three. Indian history is full of the bias against Hindus and nothing changed even after the independence. The Dr. Ambedkar was in favor of a uniform civil code, but then ruler, then Prime Minister insisted on changing the Hindu law only and gave liberty to the others. See, secularism is often cited as the soul of our constitution, but instances like this which we are facing in the Tamil Nadu show that inherent bias against the Hindu is codified in the law. Myopic policies that were set in the motion soon after the independence have led us to this stage where temples are managed by the government, but the other properties are managed by the special statute, which is beyond the powers of the civil courts. Now, third, Rajinder Sachar, chairman of the Sachar committee, in his 2006 report, estimated the value of Waqf property as 1.2 lakh crores. And this board owned in 2006 6 lakh acres of land. Can you imagine? And the law, if you have any grievance, supposingly if your property has been fallen, rightly or wrongly in the Waqf, then it is the Waqf Board only. You don't have jurisdiction to go to the civil court. And third, the Waqf Board has a right, CEO of the Waqf Board has a right to direct the district administration that look,
that you list this as a Waqf property and, you know, displace somebody else who may have a right or maybe occupying this land. You know, Suman, that is indeed a problem, isn't it? This is a very singular kind of law that gives one community this kind of an unbridled power over land in India. And if you look at the statistics from 2006, what such a committee quotes to recent, lists by the Waqf Board itself, their assets have multiplied. Thankfully, I have Uma Nandan of the BJP on the show. Ma'am, I've almost literally run out of time. But your take on what the Waqf Board is doing in Tamil Nadu and what should we do about the Waqf Act itself?
It's a draconian law, and already they have told that the Supreme Court has clearly stated that they cannot say that law cannot interfere. The Waqf Board says it is supreme, but this has not been accepted by the Supreme Court. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Can
Continue.
you hear me? See, I think that the case is still on. It is not yet over. And I would like to ask the Muslim gentleman here, another village called Tiruchere, which is Tiruchotturai, which is a very, very holy place. Devaram, Padal Petru Sthalam we tell. We call that as a Padal Petru Sthalam. The Devaram Nalvas have sung about that. And all of a sudden, the whole village is taken by this thing. And I partially blame the DMK government for this. How come all this is erupting only when DMK is in rule? All these years, the registrar's office and the Waqf Board slept through all this. And now when they know that there is a friendly government for them sitting in power, everywhere they are starting that. And the case is pending. And this particular tell in Vepur, the Abdul Wahab had 4 wives. And he had pledged the property and he did not pay. And so it was divided. You are saying it is 57 acres. As for my record, it is about 70 and odd acres. Okay. That itself is being questionable. So definitely it needs to be read this thing. It's a draconian law, the Waqf Board. Then I will say that my HRMC, my deities are the owners of the temple lands. Are they obeying that? They are not respecting my deities. Why should I respect the Waqf Board? Which is false. Definitely there has to be an end to this issue. We cannot dance to the tunes of the minorities.
Okay, you know, actually the point I was making was exactly this. It's not only about the fact that they have such unbridled powers They say, okay, this land belongs to the Waqf. They can come up with any explanation, even if it dates back to 200 years, and the person can be displaced. That is obviously one problem. It is a singular power given to one religious community in India. There is actually not comparable powers to any other community in India. And thirdly, you look at their properties, Sumant, and this is what I was highlighting. It's burgeoning. Since 2006 estimates, and now the board's its own estimates, it's more than doubled. It's the third largest landowner by their own estimates. This is the problem.
Yeah, I think that the problem, one of the issues that we need to look at also is that over the last decade or so, there has been a more active move to sort of reclaim old properties in various different boards, where people have it has become easier to contest many of these things in courts of law, and the members are more active.
Okay.
Look, you have to understand that the Waqf also, the assets from the Waqf now reach larger number of people as generations pass, and once that happens, you always have people trying to maximize revenue that comes from the various boards.
Sumant, I've unfortunately run out of time, but I think the agreement is that there is something problematic as far as this act is concerned. There needs to be a relook. I'll leave it at that, and I thank all of our guests for joining us.
Thank you.
Time for a very short break. On the other side, we'll get you details of a mega toxic spill in the USA after freight coaches derailed in Ohio. There are alarming stories of wildlife turning up dead around the area and more. We'll get you details in just a bit.